Hey everyone, I'm Janessa Palmieri and this is Cyber Conversations. Today I'm here with Professor Andrew Kramer and he is going to talk all about pen testing.
Hi there, everyone. As Janessa said, I'm Andrew Kramer. I'm an instructor of computer science in the Beacom College at Dakota State University. I teach some programming and some security essentials and Linux administration, and I'm really passionate about computers and security, so I'm thrilled to be talking to you.
So I'm going to start with the first question. So what is pen testing and why is it important?
Yeah, so pen testing I would define as like hacking with authorization. So the idea is every large company and corporation, even small companies and small businesses, have networks that they want to protect. They have important data there that they don't want to lose. And you can do a lot of things as a defender to try to protect that network, but oftentimes things get missed and it's hard to know for sure if you're secure just based on what you've done on your own. So the best way to verify that you're actually secure and find anything that you might have missed is to hire somebody to actually try to hack in and then report their findings. I have a coworker joining me here. This is my dog.
What made you interested in going into pen testing?
Yeah, so I had a love for computers and networking very early on in life. I think I got my first computer when I was 10 or 11, and I've been glued to it since. So it kind of started with just programming and a joy for problem solving. And as I got more into it, I became interested in hacking and in security and how people break into systems and violate rules that we all assume to be kind of universal and unbreakable. And as I explored it more and more, I became more and more interested. I came out to DSU actually as a student 7 or 8 years ago. Really fell in love with the curriculum and the content, and I'm really passionate about problem solving from a security standpoint. So penetration testing dovetails nicely there because you're applying all of those computing and networking and security principles to a real problem that's exciting to try and solve.
Awesome. So do you need some sort of security clearance to do pen testing?
Not usually. For the most part, penetration testing happens in the private sector. So you're working with private businesses, maybe it's a bank or a hospital or even an educational institution trying to figure out vulnerabilities in their systems. And for anything in the private sector, you don't really need a security clearance. That said, the government has lots and lots of computers as well and very important data that they want to protect. And they also recognize the value in penetration testing as a way to find those vulnerabilities. So if you wanted to do penetration testing against government systems, whether that's federal or state or even local government systems, there are teams that require clearances. So if it's something that you're interested in getting into, I would recommend starting in the private sector. I think that's a good place to get your feet under you and kind of get into penetration testing. And eventually you can transition into something that needs a clearance. When we talk about a clearance, usually we mean something that the government gives you to say you are authorized to see like secret or top secret information. But as you said, there's a different kind of clearance that we could discuss. That's like an authorization letter. In the industry, we often call it a get out of jail free card, which is the company signing that you have permission to test their systems. And if for any reason you're caught or there's any question about that authority, you can present that letter to law enforcement and say, yes, I'm authorized here. So anytime that you're doing any kind of offensive action, any kind of penetration testing, you do need authorization, right? Even if it's a private sector business. And sometimes that might take the form of a company just posting on their website that if you find a vulnerability, we'd love to hear about it, and here's where you can email us. And some companies even offer what we call bug bounty, some money incentive to report those things. And that's kind of an implicit authorization. If you're going to be more aggressive in your testing, though, and you're really trying to break in, more often you need to work with the company ahead of time and have some kind of legal arrangement with that get out of jail free card, right?
Right. And I know you might not be able to tell us everything about being the director of the Deep Red Lab, but could you tell us a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, certainly. So I can't reveal details, of course, of the companies that we work with specifically or the specific vulnerabilities that we find. But broadly, I think my work falls into three categories. First, I'm kind of managing and organizing. So I had 6 students working for me this past year. 4 of them have now graduated, but I still have 2 more and plan to hire some more as needed. So part of my work, about a third of my time, is working with those students and helping direct them towards the problems that need to be solved. And then another third of my time is actually with my hands on the keyboard trying to break in. I really enjoy the technical aspect of the penetration testing work. And so I try and stay involved with that. So that might be, scanning a network, excuse me, scanning an IP range, looking for open ports. That's a computer that wants to talk to you on the internet. Where can we talk to the systems and how can we interact with them? It might be scanning a web application to try and find vulnerabilities that we could use to access the database on the back end. Or more often, it might just be sending a phishing email. It turns out that quite often the easiest way to break in is just asking somebody for their password in just the right way, and it's highly effective. So,
Right. Social engineering.
yeah.
Yes.
So the last third of my time, here's my other coworker. The last third of my time is usually spent report writing. It turns out that good communication skills and good writing skills are a very important component of pen testing because you need to be able to relay to the client what you found and why it's important. So we only really spend about half of our time actually doing the hacking, and the other half is spent writing the report and trying to explain those details.
Right. Can you explain the difference? So your lab is called the Deep Red, but so there's a difference between the red team and the blue team. Could you tell us that difference?
Yeah, good question. So the red and blue terms refer to attackers and defenders. So generally, we talk about penetration testers as red team. Those are the people that are trying to break in, trying to find vulnerabilities, and trying to gain access. And the blue team is the defenders. Those are the people trying to protect the networks and keep the red team out. And more recently, as we've been performing these assessments over the past few decades, we've realized that it's not always most beneficial to have those two teams working in total isolation, right? So it's not always the best to just have red team try and break in for a month and then have blue team fix things after. So we're moving to a model that I would call purple teaming, which is kind of working together through the whole process. So as red team finds something, they'll show blue team, look, I think we're getting in here, and what can you see in your logs as we work? And then blue team will say, wow, I didn't realize you could get in there. If somebody did get in there, I'm really worried about this system. Can you, pivot into that machine or that network? And having that feedback loop and working together as a purple team is also really helpful.
So what is the most common vulnerability you have worked with?
Yeah, so I'm gonna say social engineering. It's in Hollywood movies, hacking is putting your fingers on the keyboard and typing a script and defeating a firewall and breaking in. But in reality, it's often an email that says, your password is expiring. Would you please click this link to log in and fix it? And without revealing specifics, I will tell you it works almost every single time. And once
Right.
you have a password, you get a little bit more access to the network, and then you can use that just for much further access. It's highly effective.
I've heard of a lot of companies, they now send their employees, they try to fish their employees to test them and make sure they're paying attention to who's legitimate and who's not.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really important. And like you said, like it's not even hacking, it's just simple grabbing information, personal information from people without even putting your hands on the keyboard. It can be in a form of an email or even a letter, text message. It's insane.
Phone call or
Right, a phone call as well, yes.
yep. Yeah, people want to be helpful, and it's sad that attackers will exploit that, but it's that's a common vector.
So my last question for you is, what is the difference between a good pen tester and a bad pen tester?
Yeah, good question. So I would say there are two things that make a good penetration tester versus a bad penetration tester. Skill is important, right? You have to know your stuff. You have to have background information and be technically skilled. But that's not really what I would look for in a great penetration tester. The two things that I would look for are number one, an attitude, a good attitude about it. So a lot of people who want to get into penetration testing tend to get an attitude that an elite hacker and I'm going to break in and show you how weak your systems are. And for a company that's really trying to protect their networks and is paying a lot of money for somebody to show them potential vulnerabilities, it doesn't feel good to have somebody come in and say, ha ha, we got you. So having an attitude of a helper and somebody who's really there to increase security and work as a team player, and just be humble about the work that you're doing, I think is really, really important and undervalued. The second thing I would say is really good communication skills. So it doesn't mean anything at all if you can break in, if you can't also explain how you did it and why it's important and what the potential impact could be, and even how you can fix those flaws or vulnerabilities. So being able to talk to clients professionally, being reassuring and trustworthy, and then also having good writing skills so that you can relay those items in the report after is absolutely critical. So those are the things that I would look for in a good penetration tester.
I totally agree with you on the writing part, that pen testing is a lot of writing and you have to be very specific in the vulnerabilities you find in systems, or companies won't understand how to fix those systems.
Absolutely, it's useless without that information.
Right. So I think that concludes all my questions I have for you today, Professor Kramer. Thank you so much for joining our cyber conversations, and thank you to all of our viewers for watching.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure.